2025 is a year jam-packed full of Fortnite events. We just swapped over to trios and we've got FNCS around the corner, so I thought what better time to pause for a second and count down the top 10 best players of all time. I'm going to be ranking these 10 players based on their individual skill, their achievements, as well as my personal eye test that I use whenever I watch a player to see how much they actually contributed to those achievements. Before we get started, this is an all-time list. I'm not using any biases for recent FNCSs or very original ones. I'm going to be looking at these players objectively as possible and figuring out which one is the most skill at the end of it. All right, starting off very strong, we have got Veno into our top 10 right here. And Veno, the reason I've got him tagged as my highest potential player is in the past, Veno has had two moments where he could have easily jumped himself into the top 5 with a single shotgun bullet, which I'll explain in a second, as well as this year with his trio Vico and Flixie. He has the potential to get way up into the top 3 even, in my opinion, based on this all-time list. So let me just read off Veno's achievements that put him into 10th place, just to show you guys how stacked the rest of this list is. You've got 2 FNCS wins right here in duos with Aqua and with Queasy, 2 of the best IGLs ever that we'll see later on, as well as a second in that 2022 Invitational. If you guys remember, Cammy and Setty versus Veno and Queasy off spawn. Veno missed his shotgun shot in the 1v1 versus Cammy, and that lost him the entire tournament. Really insanely close. Then this all-star solo showdown. This was again insanely close as well. 1v1 between TaySon and Veno at the end, and Veno unfortunately missed his shotgun shot while I was live coaching him. I genuinely couldn't believe it. Lost out on like 50k and then like 100k from this, and the differences in those 2 shotgun shots would have bumped Veno up to top 5, and that just shows you guys how tight the margins are in this top 10 ranking. Again, loads of other really good placements, and the main reason why I've got Veno again tagged as highest potential is he has not had a good globals yet. He's only got 2 11th places at globals, which I think he's way beyond capable of getting a better, even winning globals this upcoming year with Vico and Flixie, which I'm very excited to see where he'll end up going into 2026 next year. So for now, Veno is firmly in that top 10. He's an insanely good player, but personally I can't rank him above the other players on this list. Now coming down into number 9, we have got ThomasHD, and this actually pains me to put ThomasHD this low down, especially when you consider he's got over $1 million in earnings. But the main reason he's only in 9th is he's just never won anything, which I mean, it's kind of obvious, but he is the most consistent player ever. He is the best player ever to not win anything. He's obviously won cash cups, he's won dream hacks and things like that, smaller events, but he's never won like an S tier event, like an EU grand final. And I can't rank him any higher than these players below him, especially when players below him have got like 6 FNCS wins and things like that below him. I can't rank him any further up in this list unless he's able to win something in the upcoming year. And of course, Thomas is the most consistent player. I'm sure we'll see loads and loads of good placements like this. But the issue is, if you just keep tagging up 2nds and 3rds and other people are winning tournaments, you're never going to overtake them in these rankings. But obviously, you know, winning a tournament, being the best player in, you know, solos, duos, trios, being the best trio matters so much in these ranking types of lists, which is why I've got him down in 9th place right here, which is still a very good achievement. And he's obviously one of the best players ever. And, you know, he's been playing since World Cup. I think he qualified twice for World Cup, or maybe just for solos. He's been playing since then, and he's been on the absolute top of the game since 2019, which is very impressive. All right, now moving on to number 8 right here, we have got EpikWhale. And the main reason EpikWhale is on this list for me is he is a 6 times FNCS winner, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be saying, it's only NA West wins. And I completely agree with that. So if you're going to scratch away a couple of these wins and just completely ignore them for whatever reason, saying that they're West, these still are very hard tournaments to win, by the way. It's not like it's just an empty region. There's only one good team on it. There's a lot of other good teams that he was competing against at the time. Even if you scratch away a bunch of these FNCS wins, he's still got 3rd in the hardest tournament ever. World Cup Solos was by far the hardest tournament and most prestigious tournament in my mind that we've ever seen in Fortnite. He's also qualified for both globals and loads of grands, as you can see, as well as the big one that a lot of people miss is this game is a LAN, which isn't a 0 build LAN. This is actually a build LAN that he won with Bugha, as you guys can see right here, that he was able to win. Loads of other good placements down here as well in Central as well, and a total of 1.8 million earnings. It's very hard, in my opinion, to rank EpikWhale, you know, below ThomasHD, below somebody like Veno, when he has this amount of earnings and this impressive of a track record in terms of wins, as well as other LAN placements as well. All right, moving on from EpikWhale, the 6 times FNCS winner, onto a team that I have slightly cheated on, which is of course Cammy and Setty. These guys are the most consistent team we've ever seen in Fortnite, and that's the reason I'm putting them in the same position. There really isn't nothing, in my opinion, that splits these guys up as players or individuals. There's a little bit of like extra solo placements, like top 20s and top 30s and stuff that you could put into this list, but those aren't really too meaningful. As well as if you factor in 0 build, Cammy is probably, you know, way higher up. He's got like an extra 400k earned from 0 build compared to Setty, which combined for these guys is $2.6 million in earnings. So let's just quickly run through their achievements. So first, at the Invitational 2022, Osborne Clutch versus Veno and Queasy last game, an FNCS win in trios back during Chapter 2 Season 8, so in the last seasons where they had that entire split uncon, if you guys remember, as well as 2nd at 2023 Globals, 2nd during Grand Royale. This one was a bit unfortunate. They would have won this entire tournament. Unfortunately though, Cammy pre-edited his flaws and fell through a tarp, which is pretty sad to see. Then then a bunch of other good placements like thirds, a load of fourths and fifths and stuff in duos and trios, which is why I've got these guys combined in at number 7. An absolutely ridiculous amount of earnings, as well as, you know, a globals win and a global second place, and of course an FNCS win on you. All very, very impressive stuff that locks these guys into the top 7 in my opinion. Now, moving on from an insane duo to probably the best duo player ever, which is Aqua right here in our 6th position. Aqua, if you guys don't know, has not played Fortnite for a very, very long time. He's had wrist issues. He's not enjoyed playing the game. He's, you know, been a little bit lazy with grinding and things like that. So he doesn't actually have that many placements, as you can see, like notable placements. However, the actual grands that Aqua plays and all the seasons that Aqua plays, he has the best quality of results. As you can see, $2.1 million in earnings, which is ridiculous, first of all. Obviously, a lot of that comes from the World Cup in 2019 that he won with Nyrox. He's got another FNCS win right here with Veno. He's got another old Season X win that he got way back during the very first FNCS that we ever had, as well as 2 third places. One of these in solos, by the way, where he's landing at the little flopper island up north on the Chapter 2 map that we just had back, as well as a 4th place and an 8th place in Chapter 2 as well. So for me, Aqua really can't go any higher up this list, especially when you consider the amount of earnings as well as the quality of these placements. If we were just to quickly compare them, you know, up here with Cammy and Setty, as you can see, he just has better results than these guys. So even though these guys have got more recent results, recency bias and all that thing, this is an all-time list, which is for me why Aqua, the High Grandmaster, is into my top 6 right here. And it was very close between him and our next player that we're going to show off. So moving from one of the best IGLs ever to the player that in my mind recently just took him over and took his spot in the top 5, which is Queasy right here. Queasy has now cemented himself as the GOAT IGL. There is not a player in the world who has a better claim for being the best IGL than Queasy. 3 FNCS wins online, 2 second places, including this most recent tournament that bumped him into the top 5 for me, which is this Global Championship second place of Thomas, where absolutely nobody picked him to get himself into the top 5, as well as, of course, a bunch of seconds, some thirds, and a 4th, leading into a total of 1.2 million earned. And when you factor the fact that, you know, Queasy's first ever, you know, major placement was during Chapter 2, basically all of these earnings came in a period of Fortnite where it's a lot harder to make earnings in a massive amount. No massive World Cups. He hasn't really had any good, you know, Gamers 8 placements that bump you up your earnings massively. This is all just from being insanely consistent and, you know, seconds, thirds, winning FNCSs, which is genuinely super impressive. And I'm very excited to see where he can go. I definitely think Queasy is one of those players that if he's a good this year, he could easily whack himself into the top 3. But for now, he's whacked himself into the GOAT IGL position in number 5 on my ranking. So before we go any further, let's take a second and pause before we get into our Mount Rushmore or top 4 of Fortnite competitive and go through my personal honorable mentions list for, you know, 6 players that I weren't able to squeeze inside the top 10, but are all confidently and firmly into that top 20 players of all time. So let's go ahead and start off very strong with Bugha. And Bugha is an insane all-rounder. Like, his consistency in every mode, in, you know, solos, in basically everything that he plays is genuinely really, really impressive. And the only thing that's holding Bugha back from that top 10 position is he's only actually got 1 FNCS win, which is very surprising considering he's got 1 million earned. He's also got this Gamers 8 land win, a bunch of other zero build wins down here, as you guys can see, and a load of really consistent placements, seconds all over the shop, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, loads of other very good placements that reach him $1 million earnings. And for me, he's probably like into my 12th position on my all-time list. It's just he's missing a couple FNCS, which I'm sure he can probably get those this year. He's playing with an absolutely insane trio. And of course, he's the solo king as well. Just posted a full video breaking down his solo cash cut win if you guys haven't seen it. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the most underrated player in Fortnite, and which is, of course, Acorn. Acorn has got 3 FNCS wins, loads of other really, really good placements as well. Not the best LAN performer, I will say. Like, he's, you know, he's not really had a good, strong LAN just yet, but still 3 FNCS wins, very, very impressive stuff. 765k puts him into the top 15 all time for me. Now, moving from one 3-times FNCS winner to another, which is, of course, Janice right here. And Janice actually has something very impressive, which he's won a solo, a duo, and a true FNCS win. So he's one of the only players in the world, and also the only player on our entire list, our top 10 list, that has actually done this, which is very, very impressive stuff. Loads of other good placements as well, seconds, thirds, fourths galore. But the main thing, even though the fact that he's got 860k earned, that prevents him from locking into the top 10 in my books, is the fact that he hasn't really done super well on, you know, land. Like somebody like Veno that's in the top 10 at least has a second place on land. Janice has, you know, a top 15 at best, which is the main reason I'm not putting him any higher. He definitely has the potential to break into the top 10 though. He has an absolutely insane track record, which for me puts him into the top 15. Now onto another player that has an insane track record, which is of course Trulex. Trulex has only won 1 FNCS, mind you, so he's got quite a small amount compared to a lot of the other players on here. However, the main thing with Trulex is he got back-to-back thirds at the global. So, you know, a massive stage where he's competing against the best players and the best duos in the world. He got 3rd place back-to-back, which is genuinely really, really impressive. Very good stuff by him. And of course, a couple seconds along the way to reach 680k earned. tournaments. So again, not the craziest record, probably like into the top 15, top 20 area, but still back-to-back thirds, as was the FNCS win, is the global consistency that nobody else has. Like nobody's got close to that. Even Cammy and Setty, who got second places, they had one dud globals where they did super bad. Now moving on, this is a player that I would absolutely love to rank higher, and the reason why I've got Puyo right here as easily, genuinely so easy to get top 8 during 2025 on my ranking is he has such a good record. He's only got achievements within the past 2 years, and for this being an all-time list, I have to weight these achievements based on, you know, the other players that have been playing comp for a lot longer have got way more earnings, and he is the lowest earned player on here, which is still really impressive. The fact that he's got this crazy results. He's got the global championship win that he just got. He's got the back-to-back online FNCS wins. He's got second, a third, a fifth during chapter 4. Very, very impressive stuff by him, and he could genuinely so easily make it to the top 10. And for at the moment, for me, I would rank him around the top 15 mark, and that's why I'm putting him as an honorable mention. I would love to rank him at the moment, but he just can't beat out somebody like Veno or Thomas, who have got that insane longevity of, you know, 4+ years of being at the absolute top of Fortnite, whereas Puyo's only really got 2, for being completely honest. Now let's move on to my final honorable mention, which is King. King is another player that I'd love to rank. However, of course, a lot of results come from Brazil. He has had a very, very good globals performance, as well as he got 5th, which is sort of his breakout performance here during the World Cup solos. 5 FNCS wins, very, very impressive stuff. Similar to Janice, where he's got the solos, the duos, and the trios, just an extra 2 duos right here, and loads of other good placements as well, which is all very, very impressive stuff from him, reaching a total of 1.1 million earned. If I missed anybody that you guys would personally include in your honorable mentions, there's definitely a couple players that I haven't mentioned, like Cold, as well as Chico and things like that you definitely could put into this list. But for now, I'm pretty happy with honorable mentions. So let's move on to our Mount Rushmore of Fortnite, our top 4 best players of all time. Coming into our top 4, our Mount Rushmore of Fortnite, of course, we have got TaySon. And TaySon is a player that I would love to rank higher up on this list. He is the GOAT of EU. He is one of the most talented players ever, one of the hardest workers ever. But unfortunately, I can't rank him any higher than 4th. So let me run through his achievements and explain why. So first of all, we've got this Chapter 4 Season 1 FNCS win with Merstash. Then we've got an old trio Grand Royale win, 2 solo FNCS wins, which is super impressive. Very impressive stuff by him in 2021. Another grand final win in trios, as well as a load of second places, thirds, fifths, lots of good stuff, and a total of 1.2 million earned. And I would absolutely love to rank TaySon higher, but unfortunately, there's just players on this list that have sort of outworked him and have had more desire in the past 2 years. And the main reason why I can't rank him any higher is those players have had better global performances compared to TaySon. TaySon hasn't got into the top 10 in the past 2 globals, or any globals, any LAN ever. And all of these FNCS wins are pretty old. Like, these are all Chapter 2 wins. The most recent performance that he had is this Chapter 4 one, which is still, you know, a year and a half plus ago. And then this Chapter 4 Season 2, which is still a year and a half plus ago. And in that time, there's been players that I had, you know, below him that have just worked harder. They've won majors, they've won globals, that have overtaken him and have cemented himself higher up in the leaderboard. I would love to rank TaySon higher. It kind of pains me to put him in 4th place. If I'm just being objective as possible, not being biased towards these players, then I've got to put him into number 4. So let me go ahead and explain why I've put him in number 4 by taking a look at number 3. Now, on to number 3, we have, of course, got Peterbot. And without a doubt, unless something absolutely crazy, like his wrist just explodes, or he gets contested every single LAN and, you know, event, he is going to be first after 2025. And I think that's kind of hard to argue against unless he just chokes in all of these FNCSs. I've just quickly organized these results by, you know, in time order of when they happened. So the past year, he got a second in the very first LAN. Then he got a win by a pretty, you know, tight margin. And then he got a win by a pretty significant margin. And then he finished off with the best solo performance that we've ever seen since, you know, the Bugha World Cup 2019, which is, of course, this global championship where he solo clutched 2 insane games that basically cemented these guys as winners of this global. Genuinely such an impressive streak of a year, like the best year we've ever seen in Fortnite, having a second back-to-back first online and then a first on LAN. Genuinely insane stuff. And the main reason why he is above Hoyo is he's just got this longevity aspect, which, of course, you know, he won an FNCS way back during Chapter 3. He's also got a Grand Royale 4th place, a bunch of other decent placements, solo placement as well down here, with a total of 750k earned. And I know a lot of you guys are going to disagree with this, saying TaySon should be ahead, but the main reason he is not, and it's a little bit, you know, hard to do this, but it's just this global win. Like, winning globals has such a winning a massive LAN event has such an impact on your overall reputation, whereas TaySon just never has done it on LAN. He's never got better than top 10, which is why for me, I've got Peterbot into my 3rd spot right here. And I think personally, he's going to be clear in 1st and miles above everybody else in 1st by the end of this year. It's going to be very hard to beat Peterbot in 2025 with his trio and with his work ethic as well. All right, now coming in runner-up, unfortunately, is Mero. And Mero is without a doubt the best controller player ever. If there's ever a game out there that is, you know, KBM versus controller, Mero has the best track record for being a controller player, being an underdog. There is no controller player even near the top 20 in pretty much everybody's list, apart apart from Mero in second place. He's of course got 6 FNCS wins with a Globals LAN win with Cooper right here. Loads of good placements, a second, a third, a total of over $1 million in earnings. Very, very impressive stuff by him. And it's very unfortunate, especially when you consider this record, that he isn't, known as the best player. A lot of people sort of, made the case that, he should be. And I'm not completely disagreeing with that. But when you just go ahead and show his results side by side with, of course, our best player right here, Bugha is just the GOAT. I generally find it very, very hard to argue. Even if Peterbot wins everything next year, I find it very hard to argue that Bugha shouldn't be still first place. He has such a good track record of just every event. So let's just go ahead and start off at the top. We have got the 2019 World Cup solos, which of course he won by over double points over the guy, in second place, Sam, which is absolutely ridiculous, genuinely ridiculous. The best performance we've genuinely ever seen in a Fortnite event from Bugha right there. Genuinely just prime flow state, playing absolutely insane. And this for me is the most prestigious and hardest cup we've ever had, because of course it is solos, where there's no teammates, there's nobody to help you out. It's a very tough meta at the point in time. There's lots of luck and randomness in terms of you could die easily to getting trapped and things like that. It's a very tough meta, and he won it by over double points over second, which is absolutely crazy. He's also got 3 FNCS wins right here. Don't need to say anything about that. 3 FNCS wins, very impressive stuff. 2 second places, 2 third places, and then the main reason why Bugha is that step above Mero, despite not having as many FNCS wins as him, it's just all these little extra placements that many of these other pros do not have. And this isn't me cherry picking out 4ths and 5ths and 7ths and 8ths and stuff like that. All of these other players have these results included. Here Peterbot's got 9ths and 8ths and stuff, but Bugha just has almost double the amount of good placements in FNCS compared to everyone else, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Compared to TaySon, compared to Queasy, and you could argue that's because he doesn't place as good as often, but for me this just shows how consistent he has been since 2019, even going up to a recent event. So let me find one. Chapter 5, season 3, the most recent online major that we had, he got 7th. Even in the most recent, chapter 4 right here, there was another one in chapter 5 as well. He's just done insanely well consistently throughout the past 5 and then coming up on 6 years of comp, which is why for me it's very hard to argue about him not being the GOAT. And of course, he's got the most earnings, World Cup solos, 3 million of that. So it's just a very hard argument to make that he shouldn't be the GOAT. And I know I'm waffling a little bit at this point in time, but Mero, very good argument if you just want to go based on FNCS wins, and if you value the World Cup the same as the Globals, maybe you could say Mero should be in first. Peterbot, I think, will be in first after this year if he keeps up his performances. TaySon kind of pains me to put him down at 4th. He definitely should be up in the top 3, but he's just sort of been bumped out by Peterbot, as well as of course Mero had that global championship win, which boosted him above TaySon in my eyes, because he's got 6 wins, not 5. And yeah, that's kind of my ranking, guys. I want to see what you think about it down below. I think I've done it pretty fairly and objectively. I've not factored in zero builds or cash cups and things like that, because that's not the most skillful cup. Winning a random cash cup on a Tuesday afternoon isn't the most skillful thing compared to a grand final where everyone's prepared, everyone's playing their best, and these guys have performed the best. So Queasy in 5th, Aqua in 6th right here, just got overtaken by Queasy in my opinion. We've got Cam and Setty who are in tied 7th, which I think is completely fair as well. We've also got EpikWhale right here. EpikWhale is the one that you could argue he should be further down the list, not even into the top 10. But for me, he has to go into the top 8 right here with 6 FNCS wins, this much earnings, LAN win, qualifying for 3rd in World Cup solos, and ThomasHD as well. Genuinely, one thing I was trying to quickly say before I finish this video, if Thomas wins just a single event with his current team, or just wins anything during the next year, I would instantly bump him into the top 5, because he genuinely deserves it a lot. It's just he's never been able to do it. He's always just getting 2nds and 3rds, which is pretty unfortunate to see. And then of course Veno right here, who is my pick to have the highest potential, the highest jump up potential, along with Poyo in our honorable mentions. If Veno just wins 1 or 2 events, has a good globals, he will bump way up the list for me. And if you guys want me to see this do this every year, I'm definitely down to do it and sort of update the rankings, being as objective as possible. All right, anyway, that's the end of the video. Appreciate you guys watching, and see you later.